Reducing Curaçao's 2019 Budget Part 2. Commentary by Josephine Josefa on Curaçao's 2019-2020 national budget. Willemstad, Curaçao. Earlier this month, Prime Minister of Curaçao, Eugene Rugnath, proposed a 50% increase in sales tax, as a means to increase revenue and decrease the unbalanced budget differential. Questions surfaced immediately on the budget, and the thought of what was going on forced these comments to surface. But beyond the comments, I challenge any MP, or the PM himself, to debate me on effective parliamentary budgeting, on what he proposed as a solution for the Curaçaoano people, and on leading the country with a conscience for the people, not just his rich friends, but all of Curaçaoanos, young to old, Afro to albino, white collar to blue and brown collar, from the sick to the healthy, overweight to underweight, and from the religious to the atheist or sacrilegious. Let me hear from you if you have something better. Then please send your email or comments on the Josephine News contact page. A savings from parliamentary consciousness and moral ethics. The political parties in parliament are distant from the people? How does it feel knowing that as a manager of a company, you're paid more money than your common labor? But what if it was the common labor that voted for you to be a manager? Under my administration, as I have campaigned on before, everyone who wants should have the opportunity to study areas that really benefit the country, the Dutch Caribbean, the Kingdom, and globally. Then is it fair? Is it just? Is it equality? Most persons over the age of 21 make above minimum wage, and especially skilled laborers or those with more than a high school diploma. So really, how do we resolve that problem? Under my administration, as I have campaigned on before, if you are old enough to vote, then you are old enough to receive your full salary. The government before me and the present have a youth salary deduction. I don't believe in that. SSC needs to be realigned, and the political polarity and discrimination that allegedly occurs need to be addressed, investigated and resolved, and all those showing curry favor with interest to their friends or family should be investigated for corruption and government fraud. SSC should be placed under the direct control of Ministry of Education, with a parliamentary oversight committee, and the legal nature of contract signing and obligations readdressed along greater supervision on management and budget spending. I recall KTNT leader Amparo dos Santos trying to copy a pageant idea of mine from my 2017 election campaign as a suggestion to reducing the budget. In addition, I recall how it was so negatively maligned by a certain news reporter who was politically myopic, but that was the narrative that was given, and like a good employee she repeated it, probably without ever understanding it. This sector alone represents approximately a total minimum of about NAV 61.73 per capita in savings. Challenge to all and any Curaçao MP or PM to an open debate, put up or shut up. I openly challenge any MP or PM to invalidate this data in an open debate. I can only predict that only the greedy MPs and those corporate supporters who make more money having MPs and their political parties in their back pockets will voice their disagreements. So when decisions are made about the people's interest, are they contrary to the corporate supporters? They probably are. The result of Prime Minister Rugnath and his cabinet's proposal to increase sales tax by 50%. Rising prices regardless of sales volume does not work and won't work. Presently, it could be interpreted that Curaçao has been in an undulating recession period, but recently that has been upgraded to a state of idiopathic manic depression. Furthermore, it is not a wise decision, and it is incumbent upon the Kingdom to now step in and through the CFT advise the Rugnath government that is not the way to lead your people, nor to try and deceive the Kingdom with a fantasy story of a natural disaster, of a humanitarian crisis by the Venezuelan exodus. That is not a natural disaster, that is probably classified as bad governmental management or mismanagement. So, Minister of Finance may find himself in trouble, like his colleague, former Minister of Economy Stephen Martina. Kenneth Gisbertha can also check the Webster Dictionary or contact my Johns Hopkins University professor in the course on humanitarian crisis. Therefore, you see, the idea of When the country is doing well, so does the people's and maybe the MP's salaries. There should always be a balance and equality. It's time that the MPs sacrifice for the good of the people and the country. But no one will say what needs to be done, because they're too busy probably thinking about themselves and not the people who voted to put them there. B. Parliament passing 4 initial laws on reform policy as a stimulus package. 1. Alternative Energy Employment Act, PL Form E19, aka Pay Less for More Energy 2019. 2. Employment Encouragement Act, MEWA20, aka Minimum Wage 2023. Small Business Entrepreneurial Act, BEOB 2020, aka Be Your Own Boss 2024. Educational Encouragement Act, MQLC 10, aka More Quality Less Cost 10. These would reduce the expense and increase the savings, in addition to increasing the revenue scale. We'll explain later if asked. These would reduce the expense and increase the savings, in addition to increasing the revenue scale. We'll explain later if asked. This equates to a total minimum NAV 90 M in additional generation. C. Strategically partnering with high quality and good quantity of medical schools in Curaçao. At presently, the medical schools here in Curaçao, from a contribution perspective and social analysis, appears that they do not want Curaçaoinos in their schools, and that is from an analysis of the majority of the medical schools in Curaçao. On their websites, they may talk about Curaçaoinos receiving a government deduction for attending their schools, but that is one of the most flagrant lies, boasting the school. Curaçao needs to strategically partner with accredited offshore medical schools that care about Curaçao, its community, and the health and public health care of the country. Effectively and strategically partnering with the right type of offshore medical school entities can at minimum possibly double the estimated average contribution to Curaçao national GDP, bringing in about NAV 40 M guilders. This equates to a total minimum NAV 40 M in revenue. D. Total of NAV 150 million guilders. A. Equals 10 million guilders. B. Equals 100 million guilders. C. Equals 40 million guilders. This subtotal, 150 million guilders. That is about 150 million guilders derived without causing undue duress on the public. There is so much more, but I will stop here. The analysis of not addressing the Venezuelans in Curaçao. The fact is that a great majority of the illegals, females and males that come into Curaçao, venture into illegal prostitution. The adapted Friends with Benefits scheme have obscured the prostitution in a paid-for-pleasure perspective in Curaçao. This is where one girl has 2, 3 or even more partners in Curaçao and sleeps with them. The benefit is that the prostitute gets her various bills paid without the stigma nor charge of prostitution, and all of this minus paying taxes. This represents a serious loss in taxes, and when coupled with illegal immigrants taking jobs that Curaçaoinos would normally get, it exacerbates the problem. Addressing these issues could generate another minimum excess of 5 M guilders. In analyzing the situation, I realized that the amount of undocumented and documented Venezuelans or South Americans that venture into prostitution as a wage earnings, earn more than a Curaçaoino working 40 hours/WK at minimum wage. That is incredible. Imagine, such a person works probably 1.25 hours a week, getting 3 clients a day, working 5 days a week. That is about a minimum of NAV 375 per week. A current approximation of a ratio of 1 to 2, legal to illegal Venezuelans in Curaçao, gives about 1/4 the population of Curaçao. At this rate, the Afro-Curaçaoino will become the minority in Curaçao in 2 decades. G. 2019 Reality Shock. Curaçao's economic indicators show that we have passed a recession and is entering a depression. Indicators: activity, real GDP income, contracting employment, falling unemployment, increasing rapidly manufacturing, declining and about to drop even further. Retail sales will be dropping in volume. Stock market activity, slowing down. Inflation rates, rising creditworthiness, not improving. Period. From Roganeth's Step Up to Min. Of Economy and PM. 8 Results of Curaçao's situation and Rogneth's leadership. Healthcare. Expected to rise exponentially. Population will decrease drastically from sickness, disease and death. Murder plus migration corruption will increase tremendously. The lawless will become the law-ruled. Crime will increase logarithmically. The government may be sued endlessly, thereby affecting tourism. The high cost of snails item and services will make Curaçao a place for the rich only and globally a non-destination tourism hotspot. If only PM Rogneth and his cabinet had thought about these things more wisely, they give evidence of why Netherlands need to supervise Curaçao footsteps like a breastfeeding baby. What? If anyone disagrees, please feel free to express yourself, otherwise silence gives consent. A word to the wise is sufficient. If you want to read about this story, visit us at www.jjosephanews.rf.gd. Remember to add us on social media at Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at JJosephaNews.